Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, lax rats alike, welcome back to another episode of the Crease Dive. Today is Tuesday, April 26th, and Johns Hopkins will be joining the rest of their athletic department and going back to D3 because that program stinks. I'm Jordy from Barstool, and with me, as always, we've got Dukes on the mic coming at you with a little midweek episode here on a Tuesday. We figure as the season is wrapping towards an end, we'll start putting out 2 episodes a week here as it gets into crunch time. So, Dukes, how you feeling after a pretty solid weekend of college lacrosse?
Dare I say my favorite weekend of lacrosse? I think this is not necessarily the games in general, but this is one of my favorite weekends every single year. It's right before conference tournament. It's when you start seeing the do or dies. People have to make their resume wins. People can die this weekend. People can make their year. It was a great weekend for lacrosse, and I mean, it was a terrible weekend to be a Johns Hopkins fan.
I like that. I would say that there were quite a few deaths this weekend. A lot of painful
program
brutal,
deaths.
Maybe turn the kids away. Don't let them witness what's going on here because it's going to traumatize them forever. It really was an ugly weekend for teams that really couldn't afford it.
It rocked.
Hopkins as a program
is dead.
Absolutely. I'd argue, a team that has been bordering on that. Like, are they going to finally take a step, or what are they like a team like Lehigh? Tough one for them. A lot of overtime. Like, if you lost in overtime this weekend, like, you are shattered. Unfortunately for the high school team that I coach, we also ended up losing in 5 overtimes on Saturday. So it was, a 5 overtime loss hurts.
I hate to say karma for going after the GC boys in the film room, but hey, it happens.
Yeah, I mean,
listen,
they're just kids. They're all out there trying their hardest. We lost in 5 overtimes. We had the ball to start each overtime too, because like I said, our face-off kid who's going to St. John's is an absolute stud. So we got the first possession every time. But all right, that's neither here nor there. We're here to talk about college lax. We're not here to talk about either of our high schools dropping big-time games this week.
Oh, but this is, at the end of the day, this is a lacrosse podcast. And fucking high school, I actually have a rant for the end of the episode on high school lacrosse. But I'm going to save it. But yeah.
You know what? I don't want to say. I kind of like how fired up you are about it right now. You seem pretty passionate about it. Here's maybe what we can do. I just want to let it roll. We'll get into the game.
If you don't like this, we'll put it in so you could skip it and you could just go right into the college lacrosse. But I just want to say there was a lot of high school. There was 2 games on this weekend. You had St. John's, St. Anthony's 1 versus 3. You had Garden City, Mount Sinai, both on ESPNU, and I saw a lot of bitching about the shot clock. So I want to know your take as a high school coach. Are you for the shot clock? Are you not for the shot clock? I saw our friend Drake Porter had the delete game going, saying he's not a fan of Garden City lacrosse anymore.
So it's hard because I like this game that we played on Saturday where we lost in 5 over. Like I control the box for my team, right? That's all I do. But not only do I control the box, but I'm making sure I'm in the ref's ear every single time. Hey, listen, buddy, like their possession started like a minute 20 ago. They haven't even looked to go to the cage yet. Like I'm a big, there needs to be a shot clock in lacrosse because I just get so bored of watching long possessions. You need a shot. Like, I don't know. It's kind of like, I don't know. The shot clock is like a drug, right? Like you take a little hit of it and you're like, I can control myself. I don't need this all the time. And then all of a sudden you're coaching high school lacrosse and like you wake up with some night sweats and you're itching and you're like, I fucking need a shot clock right now in my life.
So here's my stance on it that like pissed me off is I think there should be a shot clock, but just like how what is it in the PLL, like 58, 60?
Yeah, give me a full 90.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's gonna be like 90 to 100. And if you're really watching a high school game, if you're like just like you said, if you're taking like 120, if you're like 120 in, like seconds, they're gonna call the stall warning. Like they don't really.
You would think.
I don't know. They call Garden City. Like they'll give Garden City like one long possession, and they'll call it like that because like that. I just don't get the people bitching. if it works and it wins and you're playing within the rules, like shut up. And it's like I saw the Crease Dive account came out Garden City, which I was not appreciative of. Saying like,
who's who's controlling that right now? Oh, okay.
But he was like Garden City's not preparing like kids to like go D1. It's like, well, no, you send kids every fucking year D1 and you win state championships at the same time. So like, it's just like it kind of pissed me off because I was like, if you're in college and you're at Syracuse and you're playing. Imagine Gary Gate was like, actually, we want you to shoot within 58 seconds because that's what you're going to be seeing at the next level. It's like, what? Why would you do that? Why would you rush a bad shot just to prepare you guys for the next level? Like, you're here to win in college. Use the time that you're warranted.
Okay, yeah. I don't really have much of an argument to that one. That's a good point that you bring up. No, I mean, it's like some high school leagues have it. Like I know MIA has it.
Yeah.
The private school
Summer
conference. Leagues? Yeah. Do summer leagues have it?
They were saying that. What's his name? Shiver was saying. I think the old boys Latin coach was saying that on that like they'll play summer league like there'll be shot clocks, so they're not like clueless to shot clocks. But I definitely think they need it. But one tidbit I thought was very interesting, Jordy, was I saw a tweet last week where Spallina's dad was talking about how there needs to be a shot clock. And like I don't disagree. He was talking about how money's an issue, blah blah blah. But that was 2 days before the Garden City game. And like I've said, like Garden City is known to play like hold the ball, wait for the good shot, take the good shot. Just because you have a shot doesn't mean it's the right shot. Like,
oh yeah, I mean, Joe Spallina knows how to politic a little bit. Because he's on
the Garden City film.
I'd imagine that would probably play. Like, listen, he knows that he's gonna have like the boys have a nationally televised game coming up. There's going to be a lot of eyes on that game. Joe Spallina, his word carries a lot of weight in the lacrosse community. I know that he's come out and I forget exactly what it was, but there was something that he about the Stony Brook women's team. They were getting boned somehow by the NCAA, but like everybody does. But yeah, Mark Emmert, suck it, buddy.
Fuck the MCLA too.
Yeah. Just justice for Dayton Lax. Absolute disgrace by the MCLA. But yeah, no, I would love more shot clocks. I also understand that there are definitely schools that they're not going to put the money into getting the shot clocks, or even if they put the money into getting the shot clocks, like there are so many schools like who like they have just like some drunk dad who's running the clock who like the fans have to scream like clock after every restart because it like doesn't start for like another 15 seconds. So I can only imagine like how ridiculous it would be to get them to also work the shot clock and like know when to restart it and all this and that. But like I don't know, you look back on high school lacrosse 15, no, I'm not that old. Oh, fuck yeah, I guess I am, like 15 years ago. And like 2007, like there was still like a horn to sub, right? Like if the ball went out of bounds on a sideline, you could literally get someone on the sideline to blow an air horn, everything would stop, and you could just sub in your guys. Like you could sub out the entire field just because of a horn, because the ball went out on the sideline. And like you look back on that now and you're like, how the fuck did we used to play in the era of the horn?
Yeah. The horn was crazy.
I think that we're almost at that point though now with like the shot clock where it's like, how are we like letting these teams take like possession shots that are like 7 yards over the cage, and now all of a sudden the ref is going to be like, well, no, they took a shot, so they get another minute 30 of possession here. Like I don't know. It's a tough one. I think that there's merit to both sides of the argument, right? We're mature enough here at the Crease Dive to understand that both sides have a point. But as someone like, it would be better for me because then I wouldn't feel like an asshole having to like yell at the refs, be like, dude, like, can you please tell them to keep it in? Because I'm like getting bored to death over here.
My last comment on the whole thing, I think there should be a shot clock. I forgot how boring Garden City lacrosse was, and like when I was watching the game, I was just thinking of like some kids that I'm watching, and they're like the fourth kid in their family, and I'm like, how the fuck did their dad watch like 15 years of this program just like hold the ball and do nothing? I was like, I can't believe that like after watching the shot clock in college come together and the PLL, I'm like, I just can't believe that high school ball doesn't have the shot clock. I mean, I'm joking when I kind of say like fuck the shot clock, but in high school I would love to know what high school Dukes was like on the sideline during those Garden City games where possessions are like 2 minutes. Like
You
bench
had
mode.
to be really, yeah, just really fucking off at the end of the bench there. Just
Dude, like I would get fired up. Like I was known for like chirping like the whole thing, and then like we go to the handshake lines, and I'm like looking away. We're like shaking hands at St. Paul's, and like fucking this 6'4" kid's like, what do you say now, pussy? I'm like nothing.
sorry, sir.
Yeah, yeah, man.
Uh, All right. Well, that was a good couple minutes of ranting about high school ball. I mean, listen, it's the foundation of lacrosse. Without a great high school ball, there'd be none of this great college lacrosse that we're here to talk about. So always good to spend a few minutes on that. But yeah, I mean, great weekend in college lacrosse. Brutal weekend if you're someone like Diggs, who's a fan of Johns Hopkins, but we can talk about that later. I think. Well, let's start off real quick with the troops, right?
Yeah.
We're a pro troops podcast here. We're going to be the first to admit that we love our service academies. Thank you for your service, Army, Navy. One that I was me and probably the majority of people just got totally wrong. I saw this game as Army going in and just pummeling away at the midshipmen. But lo and behold, Xavier Ardline comes back from injury. He has himself, I think he had 4 points on the day, and then at the end of it all, great fourth quarter, a lot of back and forth going on. And this is a game where I think I got home from my 5 overtime loss about just before halftime, so I didn't get to see the first quarter. But the second half was great. Fourth quarter was awesome. Goes into overtime. Navy gets the man up, and on the uppers opportunity, it was Jack Sweeney with the dagger to give Navy a huge win for their program. Good overtime win over a top 10 ranked Army team. Great showing for Brendan Nickturn. And yeah, I mean, that's going to be a tough one for Army.
Yeah, that was that that was probably my favorite game of the weekend. Like it came to that point where I think we both had Army like 3.5, or we picked Army 3.5, and I was like, once I saw Xavier Arline do that like behind the head kind of flip with his wrist, like diving through, I was like, okay, it was like, first off, he's back. That was like his back moment, I thought, and it made me be like, actually, fuck being right or wrong. Like I just want to I want to root for Navy. Like it was just way more fun to root for Navy. Nick Turn is godly. I mean, I think he's
yeah. I mean, he's
top
like
three player this year. I don't think that's
yeah, and he's like he's a coach's dream, where he's a guy who just dodges hard to get to the middle,
yeah.
shoulder down, doesn't do anything fancy, and just beats his guy every single time.
He would love to play for Andy Towers. Him on an Andy Towers squad. Oh my god.
Just be a wrecking ball out there.
Skalniak. I just want to say this about, like, just to shout out one Skalniak on Navy. He had one of the grossest shots I think I've ever seen, but like nobody talked about it. It was on the run, just top left, like pinned perfectly, and I was thinking that was going to be a highlight reel, like all over Twitter. Crickets. So I just want to shout out Patrick Skalniak, because that was a great shot. I think he's a great player too.
Now, I have a question here for you, because like we mentioned, like there were a lot of teams who had a tough loss this weekend, where it's a really bad time to have a tough loss on your resume. Like that loss right there for Army, they're kind of right now in a predicament where I feel like they might have to win the Patriot League tournament now to get in. I mean, you look at the losses that they have, right? It's a loss to Rutgers, which in my eyes sucks, because I hate Rutgers, but like maybe in the eyes of the selection committee, they're like, oh yeah, Rutgers is ranked. Like, so that's a perfectly fine loss, I guess. The loss to Lehigh isn't looking fantastic. And now this loss to Nate, like you look at their wins, there's really not, the Cornell win was great, but to follow up a great win to Cornell with a quote unquote bad loss to Navy, obviously it's the biggest rivalry in sports, Army Navy. So like you kind of have to factor that in with this loss. more so than like any other team losing to Navy. But even still, like that's a bad loss on the resume for a team that doesn't really have like a ton of great wins to offset that.
I will say though, two of the losses by one goal. That's something that committee has to look at.
And again, it's Army Navy, so there's so much like you're gonna get Navy's
Best game.
best game in that one. So I mean I guess it just depends on like how much the selection committee actually like factors that in, as opposed to just being a bunch of nerds who like grab their calculators and they're like, hey, the computer said that this is a bad loss.
I hate shitting on goalies. Like it's a very hard position. You got to be mentally tough, especially in a game like that with the magnitude. But Wyatt Schupler could have gotten thrown a beach ball and he wasn't going to save it. He's been consistent all year, 3-year starter. I'm pretty sure. Like has always been consistent. Even during the broadcast, they're talking about how consistent he was. He possibly played the worst game of his career at the moment that they couldn't have it. I think. Let me see his stats. I think if he had more than 5 saves, I'd be shocked. Let me just double check on this. 3 saves, 20% saves percentage. That's awful. I won't get into it. He's just a kid. They're just kids. But even kids need to save the ball if they're playing goalie.
Yeah, definitely not what you want to see out of the Department of Defense.
Pat Ryan for Navy also came up with some spectacular saves. It was funny during the broadcast when I forget, it might have been Evan Washburn goes, I like to call that a goal-saving save. I was like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, what? Yeah, every save is a goal-saving save, but like he meant like on the doorstop, like should have had it, sort of thing. But the way he worded it was very funny.
But he's totally correct.
Yes.
Zero lies. Zero lies. Well, you know what? I think that listen, from one goalie's perhaps lowest moment, I think that's great to now turn us into another goalie's probably his career day so far. Yeah. And that's obviously talking about the people's goalie, Connor Thoreau of Brown. 24 saves between the pipes as Brown continues this insane hot streak. They're tearing through the ivy right now. You know that Larkin's loving it. And Brown just, I mean, that's now 3 huge wins in a row over Penn, Yale, and Cornell. The win against Penn was at Penn, a little 2-goal win, little gutsy win there. The rest of them have been shit kickings. They dominate Yale, and now Connor Thoreau and the Brown defense holds Cornell to just 8 goals. So, I mean, right now they're playing just as good a ball as anyone in the nation.
And you know what? It's not if you're the best team all year. It matters if you're the best team when it counts, when it turns May. End of April going into May. And you know what? There's nothing you want to see as an attackman, as an offensive team. You don't want to see a hot goalie going into the tournament. Someone that's feeling it, someone that's feeling confident, a freshman too.
That's a lot of body to be feeling it too.
And I think a hot goalie is scary. And you know what? You know what it's reminiscent of? There's a guy by the name of Jack Kelly. You might have heard him. Played for the Brown Bears a couple years ago with our good friend Larkin, and I remember a certain tournament where he turned it up at the right time. He wasn't the best goalie all year, but he was the best goalie when it counted, and then he turned into one of the best goalies in the world. So yeah, I mean Brown shut us up last week. They play Bryant tomorrow? I think that's a game where they have to wake up.
Can't be any letdown.
Can't be a letdown. It feels like a letdown spot. So I don't want to say I'm not going to count either team out, but I just hope that Brown comes ready to play.
Yeah, I mean a Tuesday. Like, fortunately, it's a home game for Brown, right? So it's going to be.
It's like a home game for Bryant too, though.
Yeah, but still, like you don't have to get on a bus. You don't have to show up early. Like you don't have to like bring like your dinner on a bus, shit like that. So it's still gonna be a little bit easier, but like, yeah, I mean, just that Tuesday slate where you're a team that's playing as hot as anyone in the nation, and then you have Bryant coming in, who, no offense to Bryant or anything like that, but it's not like they're it's not the biggest. I mean, they're 7-5.
Same.
They're a good program, but it's one that Brown should win. Tuesdays are always for the Hunters, so it's a tough spot for Brown to be in. So, but I don't know. I think you get the people's goalie, keep them hot, and anything. I mean, especially like as we get later into the season, right? That every game starts to mean a little bit more. Every possession means a little bit more. Every shot means a little bit more. And when you're an attackman or an offensive player and you know that this goalie has just been eating everybody's lunch and throwing it right back in their face, I mean, that just, you start thinking way too much about your shot. You think, okay, maybe this time instead of giving them one fake, I'm going to give them two fake. Okay, maybe this time I'm going to lean far, bring it back near. And like, you're just overthinking every single shot because this guy's been just destroying and eating up everything. And then you overthink and you just end up throwing it right into a stick. So yeah, a hot goalie this time of the year is the scariest thing possible for any opponent.
Yeah, couldn't say more about Brown right now. I'm just I mean, I think that Colin Hart has been playing for the LSM for Brown. He's been playing some fantastic ball.
LSMU.
LSMU, GC kid too, and I know that he's always been a stud. But I mean, he's had like 3 goals in 2 games. And you just every time I turn on the TV, he's making an impact. So it's just great to see. I mean, also that Brown game, it was almost hard to. I think I turned it on like right after Army Navy, and because I was watching at my house one TV, it was a boring game in a way. You know what I mean? Like it was just it never felt like Cornell was in it when I was watching it.
Yeah, I mean a 6-0 start in the first quarter, and just Cornell never able to really get it going, and that one's just. And again, I mean, you go up against a goalie who's just stopping everything thrown his way. Like guys just start to, they'll feel a little bit down on themselves. They start the little pouty face, little palms up action every now and then. It's a tough one to come back from. So yeah, I mean, as long as Connor Thoreau keeps up that pace, I don't see any reason why Brown can't have themselves a nice little month of May. The other big time Ivy game this weekend was Harvard just coming out and hosting the Princeton Tigers and coming away with a big time 19-16 win, high scoring affair. A guy that you've been high on all season long, Sam King, with 3-2 on the day. Just one of those wins where now this right here, actually. So I'm going to let you say your piece on whatever you thought about Harvard and Princeton. But this is a game that really made my my tin hat conspiracy theory go on high alert. So go ahead and say what you want about Harvard. You've been a big Harvard guy all year. I think you've claimed that they're 2025 national champ. So be on the lookout for that. Actually, you don't even have to watch the 2025 college lacrosse season because Dukes has already predicted it for you. But I mean, are your Harvard Crimson coming along much faster than you originally anticipated?
The one thing I said last episode, I said the offense will show up, the defense will show up. I was worried that Princeton would get more possessions than Harvard. And Harvard, it was basically 50-50 down the middle on faceoff. So I think that was probably the key to the game. I did not expect that at all. That was really my only big tidbit from the game. I was really impressed with how Harvard closed the game in general because that was a very high emotion game. Alumni were there. They were celebrating the 2020 and 2021 classes who had their seasons taken away from them. So, I mean, I just know that it meant a little bit more. Harvard undefeated at home. They're fucking wagon. If they played every game at home, we'd be maybe talking about them like we do to talk about Maryland. You know what I mean?
Something that the schedule maker should really keep in mind. I know that Syracuse tried to do that a couple years ago, just play every single game at home. They still had to play one at like a random high school, but
I got to say this though, when you said tinfoil conspiracy earlier, I've been thinking about it all day, and when you said it was this for this game. All I was thinking of when I was talking is I need to hear Jordy's conspiracy. So I need to hear this conspiracy that you've been talking about.
All right. So here's the thing. All right. So listen, first off, I just want to say I don't have any sort of hard evidence to back up these claims, but at the same time, I haven't heard anybody come out and oppose what I'm about to say. So the Ivy League, right? This is the first time that they're playing ball for 2 years after they had their 2020 season canceled halfway through. They miss all of 2021. They've had a lot of time to think and plan about this season, right? So after that win for Harvard over Princeton, we now have 5 Ivy League teams tied for first place in the conference at 3-2 in conference play. And then you have Penn, who's 3-3. So they're the only team who's played 6 Ivy League games already this year. So, there are going to be a few teams after this week who end at 4-2 and a few who end at 3-3. Now, early in the season, we're thinking, okay, yeah, Penn is a wagon. Yale is a wagon. Cornell's a wagon. Like, we have our idea of probably the 3 Ivy League teams that are going to get themselves into the tournament. Last few weeks roll around. Here comes Harvard. Here comes Brown. Penn's now in 6th place in the Ivy League in the rankings right now. So fuckery is afoot, Dukes. Fuckery is afoot. There's no way that this conference is actually this tight as they are right now. What I'm thinking happened is the last year and a half while they weren't playing, all the Ivy League teams, they come together. They say to themselves, hey, listen, all we have to do is just beat up on each other for a little bit. Like, we're going to get the out of conference wins. All we have to do is just kind of keep beating each other, trading off wins and losses in conference play. All of a sudden, right now, the Ivy League, they're a 5, maybe 6 bid conference into the NCAA tournament. What does that do, Dukes? What does that do? Well, that makes it a hell of a lot harder for a team like Notre Dame to get into the NCAA tournament with an at-large. That makes it a hell of a lot harder for a team like Ohio State or Rutgers to get into the NCAA tournament with an at-large. If the Ivy League is taking up all these at-large bids because they just keep swapping off wins and losses with each other and their quality wins and quality losses, they just get to fuck up everything in the NCAA tournament right now because they're in cahoots with each other, Dukes. They're in cahoots with each other. And there's no way that you can look at what happened in the beginning of the season. There's no way that you can look at what Brown's doing right now, right? Brown had what? They had 3 or 4 losses in a row, and then they follow that up. So 3 losses in a row to Harvard, UMass, and Princeton. They follow that up with then 3 wins in a row with Penn, Yale, and Cornell. You don't think that there was a little switch that was activated in the group chat saying, okay, hey, now it's Brown's turn?
Do you think, though, in some sense, this is what I'm concentrating on. I think that you're right, where it's not like realistically, I don't think they planned it. I like they
had a year and a half, Dukes, a year and a half where they weren't playing. You don't think that their minds went there a little bit saying, hey, listen, we didn't get a chance to play in the 2020 tournament. We didn't get a chance to play in the 2021 tournament. Let's all eat in 2022. And we're going to take food off of Ohio State's plate. We're going to take food off of Notre Dame's plate. We're going to take food off of UNC's plate. They're taking a lot of food off of a lot of plates.
Do you think
you know what? And that makes it hard.
It does come down to the tournament and stuff.
It comes down to the tournament. Like right now, I think that probably I think that if you get a Brown and Penn Ivy League championship, I think that obviously the winner gets in and the loser gets in. And then I think that Cornell, Princeton, and Yale, and maybe even Harvard, who knows? Like I think that you can get 5. I think you can get 5 Ivy League teams in.
As it stands right now, I think Penn is a good team, but you're just it almost feels like they had their chances and they didn't really do anything to stand out from the pack in their wins. Even they had a 2-goal loss to Georgetown, fine. But then you got a 1-goal win against Penn State, who you think's ass, 1-goal win against Villanova in overtime.
But that's a Philly rivalry. Unless we're talking about
that's not Army Navy. That's not Army Navy.
Yeah, but a couple again, it's a tough. Okay. They have to go to Villanova. Listen, those cats out there in their Patagonia vests, they're that's a tough crowd to play against.
I hope that the committee has that same energy if Penn loses to St. Joe's this weekend.
St. Joe's is playing good ball too.
Yeah. No, I like St. Joe's a lot. They have a good coach.
But again, this is they're the Ivy League. Like they're a bunch of nerds, right? They're able to kind of plan this out. It's a beautiful mind, right? Who's in that movie? I don't know. Is that like Chris Russell or something? But either way, like they probably have this planned out. They've run some algorithms, right? They had the equations up on the chalkboard, and Sam Hanley came around and finished them off for everybody. I've actually never really watched Good Will Hunting, so I don't know much
What?
about that.
We're not getting into it, but yeah.
Yeah, I watch it when it'll be like on like TNT, and I'll watch it like for like 40 minutes, and then I turn it off. But either way, like I bet that they have it planned out that, okay, hey, Penn, you're going to have a rough stretch in April, but we're going to work it out, pull some strings so that you make it to the Ivy League championship. And then you get in through the wins that you have to get in that tournament to boost your resume.
And then I'm going to segue just the Penn Ivy League talk. I'm just going to segue this. Penn's tweet after the game. Did you happen to see it?
Well, so I personally didn't see it, but luckily our good pal Dan Arestia took a screenshot because screenshots never die.
So this is hilarious. But Penn's lacrosse team, they beat Dartmouth. They had to get the job done this weekend. Penn tweets out, left to cheer for Brown, Princeton, and Yale next weekend. Not necessarily happy about that, but you got to do what you got to do. James Shipley on Penn responds, please delete this. So you might be hearing this and be like, oh, that's crazy. Let me go to James Shipley's account. Deleted tweet. Oh, that's crazy. Let me go to Penn's account. They deleted their tweet. You might happen to catch that if you go to Penn's lacrosse account right now, that they tweeted out, what's their account? Penn Men's Lax.
Penn Men's Lax.
So if you go to Penn Men's Lax right now, and you go to their, I think their pinned tweet, and you click on the timestamp, 1:30 a.m. 1:30 a.m. So do you think that Murphy got on this call to the social media coordinator and was like, hey, delete that tweet, that's embarrassing, like got him out of bed, made him delete it? Or what do you think's going on there? 1:30 in the morning, Eastern time.
No, I think that goes even further into my conspiracy theory, where they're like, yo, guys, like we can't leave shreds of evidence here that we actually are working together. Like you need to get rid of that because that has us caught red-handed, hand in the cookie jar, that we're in cahoots with each other. James Shipley's like, yeah, we don't want this to get out, you fucking loser running the social account. Like, can you please get that out of here?
Can you please delete this?
Yeah, that wasn't like a, hey, this is a bad look for us rooting for our rivals. That was like a, hey, listen, someone with the IQ of Jordy is probably going to catch on here that we're all working together to sabotage the Big Ten and the ACC and every other conference and just take over the NCAA tournament as the Ivy League tournament.
Hey, went over my head.
Plus Maryland.
Went over my head.
But yeah, so either way, again, I don't think that it's beyond the realm of possibility that the Ivy League used their 18 months away from college lacrosse to figure out a way to get the most amount of Ivy League teams into the NCAA tournament as possible, especially with the fact that the tournament is expanding this year to there are a couple more play-in games. So I don't know, just something to keep your eye on. The Ivy works together, and Bill Tierney loves to throw the Big East championship game every year just to get more Big East teams into the tournament. Both probably true, way more true than false. Other games around college lacrosse of the do we talk about Maryland just curb stomping the piss out of Hopkins? I mean, we have to. We do have to.
There's three games I want to touch on this, but yeah, the Maryland shit pumping. They scored at the end of the first. The one thing I want to just jump out of the gate and just talk about, before the game even came on ESPNU, they were up 4-0, and there was 12 minutes left in the first quarter, and then at the end of the half, when Hopkins they were out of the game, it was weird enough to say that they were down 7, but they still were showing fight, and then Maryland was like, oh, they're so annoying, they're trying so hard, and they just scored 3 goals in 10 seconds.
Yeah, there was one run in the third quarter where it was like Malever, Keegan Khan, and then
Yep.
someone else. Like they scored like bang bang bang, and then like Quint got on was like, oh my god, I can't believe that Maryland's like, they should really be using this time to put in some younger guys just to see what they got. And I can't believe that they're, and it's like, dude, Quint, shut the hell up. Like your program sucks. But then like what I really want to talk about in this game is the fact that when Maryland, so first off, they scored their 20th goal of the game with 20 minutes still left to go. But then in the fourth quarter, when they finally did start putting in like the third and fourth stringers, and like that's when Hopkins like finally got their offense going again. This is how you know that Hopkins is dead as a program. You can't have the band playing when you're scoring against third stringers and you're down by 15. You just can't have, like, I don't care that you just scored like your six goal, like you're down 14 in the fourth quarter. You're playing against a bunch of guys who probably weren't expecting to play for another 2 years. You can't have the band play. Like you have to have some more situational awareness there if you're the band.
Who was it? Was it Owen? Was it Owen Murphy? Owen Murphy, I want to say. Let me just make sure I got this right. Owen Murphy. I think he went to Johns Hopkins. Okay, so yeah, it was Owen Murphy. Johns Hopkins transferred to Maryland.
Yeah.
The first time that he scored, he went
to the band.
He went like under his jersey to Maryland and then pointed at the band. That rocked. I became like the biggest Owen Murphy fan ever.
Yeah, that was a great moment.
Yeah, that was something that will always stick in my head. And if you're like friends with, if you play for Hopkins, and you were like roommates with Owen Murphy, or you got beers with Owen Murphy, allegedly, maybe at an underage bar, allegedly, of course, but if you were like friends with him,
couple Shirley Temples.
Yeah, a couple Shirley Temples. It's Mountain Dew, baby. But like, if you're friends with Owen Murphy and you're still on Hopkins, there's no chance you're still friends. Like, you can't look at him in the eye and be like, wow, I respect what you did.
I don't think that he would be friends with you, though. He'd be like, you're an idiot. Why did you say at Hopkins? Like, you should have transferred too. This is way sweeter.
Yeah. He's like, don't you get it? We could have went anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, we could have so much fun at Maryland and win.
I got to be honest. Quick Jordy, just a little Jordy guarantee. I feel like we're going to be seeing a lot of those this summer. A lot of guys leaving Hopkins.
I like that. And also, the thing that was kind of crazy about Hopkins was I said that, but like towards the end of last year, they became like a pretty decent team. Like they were like playing their way into the tournament. Like Cole Williams was tearing it up. You had like Connor DeSimone tearing it up. Joey Epstein was kind of coming back, like showed flashes. And you were like, okay, Milliman's kind of figuring it out. And you were like expected so much going into this year because they returned basically everybody but Cole Williams, it felt like. But no, what happened was
Kyle Marr also?
No, Kyle Marr graduated like 19.
Okay.
But it almost feels like there's like that he was there. I mean, he had a disgusting shot.
Yeah, big time underhand guy. Love it.
Big time underhand guy. But no, who I was really impressed by on Maryland? I mean, this isn't like breaking news or anything, but like Wisnauskas, like his vision.
That lefty skip pass just on a rope.
And I've always thought that Wisnauskas was like one like just a lethal lefty sniper. But he I mean, it's against. I hate to even say because it's against like it's crazy. Like it's crazy that I'm saying this in 2022, but I'm like, oh, it was really impressive, but it was against Hopkins. So like I don't know how.
Yeah. So like how much can you actually? Yeah. I know. Like just I don't know. Just I mean, easily the lowest point in the history of Hopkins lacrosse. I think it's going to be a really ugly scene there for like. I think that it's probably going to get really ugly. I think coaching staff probably going to get ugly. I think transfer portal probably going to get ugly. I don't think that there's any fix on the horizon anytime soon for Hopkins. Unless someone tweeted this at me that maybe the day will come that Paul Rabel decides that he wants to coach, and then at that point Hopkins can turn things around, but until then, program officially dead. You said that there were a couple other games that you wanted to touch on. Which one were those?
I just have one more point about Hopkins. I'm sorry to like drag this out, but we touched on it last episode. And I saw your tweet, but we were talking about like this isn't 07. Like they are losing that lust. Like, and it feels like that, like the lust is now officially gone.
I just can't think of like high school kids
That would rather go to
in
Hopkins than
in
Maryland.
in like today who like grew up watching Hopkins in like you could set your clock to it that Hopkins was going to be in the Final Four, at least the quarterfinals every single year, that they were going to be a top 10 team in the nation with just dirty lacrosse players. Just every single year, like you knew like you were going to be watching legends on that lacrosse, like, but they're like that's not the case anymore. Like I can't remember the last truly great Hopkins team that, I mean, what, that 2015 team went to the Final Four, but like
Dude, it's
even
tough.
that team wasn't like great. So like
2015, they got
there's
like lucky. They like not lucky, but like Joel Tenney had a
yeah,
fucking like
like that's what I'm saying. So like, but like I don't think that, unless you're a high school kid who was like just watching like a billion Paul Rabel YouTube highlights set to Breaking Benjamin, like there's really nothing about Hopkins as a program that like you relate to that would be like, yeah, like I want to go play for that program. I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit different for like the Baltimore kids. Like maybe all those MIA guys like are like indoctrined into like Hopkins as a powerhouse, but anywhere else in the country, like you're like, you want me to go to this weird ass school in the middle of Baltimore that is only D1 for lacrosse, like not going to get to watch sick football, probably not going to have that great of a time because the school's hard as shit. So no thanks. I'd rather just go ball out at Maryland and have a great old time.
and the one savior of Hopkins lacrosse, unfortunately, is on the Terp sideline, in my opinion. Bobby Benson.
Mm.
I think that he could turn around the program.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think that having Junior there is huge. I think you can get any Canadian you want, but I can't imagine that he's like necessarily thrilled about coaching a team that scores like 4 goals in 3 quarters. So
And I guess like wait for them to get their recruits, but like at the same time, how are you gonna even get fucking recruits if you're not fucking winning now?
yeah,
Um,
it's a tough spot to be in.
all right, that's enough Hopkins slander. I mean, Virginia's really good. I don't think I'm breaking anything.
Virginia's back. Virginia's back.
Matt
I
Moore
think
is
that
back.
Matt Moore is definitely back. Yeah, I mean, 14 combined points for Virginia over Syracuse out of Philadelphia public school kids. So Matt Moore had, I think it was 4-3, and then Jeff Connors had 3-4. Either way, they both had a 7-point game against Syracuse. I mean, listen, that's a pretty much the same thing that we all just said about Hopkins. Like right now, Syracuse is a team where, like, if your team's in a bit of a funk, especially if your offense is in a bit of a funk, go ahead and schedule a game against Syracuse, and you'll get the boys right on track again. So, yeah, I mean, so Virginia earlier in the season, back in February, they took down Cuse 20-11. And then this time they followed that up with a 21-15 win over Cuse. They probably heard all that shit that Drake was talking about, how, Syracuse has been taking
Yeah,
down
for
Virginia.
sure. You know who I
So
think's like easily MVP. Probably if he's on, I think if he was just on like a team that makes the tournament, he's like right there in the tour time, like probably wins it, is Tucker Dordevic. Like I think that there's no, hands down number one pick in the PLL draft next year. I can't like unless I'm getting like the Brennan O'Neill. I think I'm right. Tucker Dordevic, number one pick in the PLL draft next year.
yeah, I mean,
It's
he
too
fits the
early.
bill.
Yeah, he's
Yeah, a
just a
little,
fucking stud.
but I mean, he fits the bill. He likes to, get after it pretty early in the shot clock too. Oh, real quick, just as I'm talking about Philly public school guys. So Matt Moore 3-4, Jeff Connor 4-3, Jackson Burtwhistle 5 goals for Syracuse, and Jacob Buttermore, who played with Matt Moore in high school, 1-1. So, I mean, there's no better lacrosse on the planet than Philly public school lacrosse, and that's just
We always go back and forth about Long Island, Philly, like all that shit. But I will like firmly like I was didn't really want to like shit on Baltimore too much, but I will say like since I played, I've always thought it went Long Island, Philly, and like I'll even say maybe fucking like No, I won't go there. I'd say it's Long Island, Philly, Baltimore.
Yeah.
And it's
I'm
legitimately my opinion.
like, obviously, like,
Yeah,
I'm
you'll
gonna
say
be like,
Philly. Yeah.
I'm gonna say Philly, but I'm also like, if the public, if it came down to a public vote and Long Island edged out Philly, I wouldn't cry about it.
Paul Rabel even said that's literally
Yeah.
whenever this debate comes up on Lacrosse Twitter, I just pull up Paul Rabel with like on a tour saying Long Island's better than Philly. And then the last game I
Uh,
just want to talk about was who were you rooting for in Rutgers Penn State?
I was rooting for like the lights to turn off, like to have an electrical problem, and they just weren't able to finish that game. And then like we're so late into the season that they weren't able to get a reschedule. No, I mean, hey, listen, good for Rutgers for squeaking it out. That comeback overtime win against Penn State. Listen, I may shit on Rutgers like pretty frequently. I am a big Ross Scott guy.
Yeah.
I think he's like just an undersized, as an undersized guy myself. Not nearly as athletic, but just as a smaller statured individual, just big, big on the small guys out there getting shit done.
I'm a big Colin Curse guy.
Yeah, I mean, and also that's a big body. So like there are guys, and I also Mitch Bartolo. Like I'm a huge fan of just watching that just mutant of a human being. So like I like watching guys on Rutgers. I just hate them as a program. Like if there's a way to separate that, like that's what like love the player, hate the program. So at the end of the day, yeah, like I'm glad that Rutgers got that win, because like if that means that I get to watch one more game with those guys, then that's fine. But then they'll just get pumped in the first round.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it for the tournament, but you might, if they make the Final Four, you might have to do something, or like we have to do something. Like you might have to go. You might have to go. I don't want to drag you Memorial Day weekend. I don't know your plans. We have to talk about it, but like you going and like having to like face the Rutgers team as they like.
That's way better than I thought you were. I was gonna say I would enroll to Rutgers.
Take a summer class at Rutgers.
If they make the Final Four, I will take a summer class at Rutgers. Maybe it'll be online. Because I still want to be able to get to the beach and shit like that. But I will take an online course at Rutgers.
If they make the Final Four, could we commit? No, not commit. We'll talk about it again. This will be talked about until they get it. Possibly you have to barbecue. You have to do the barbecue for their post-game tailgate.
Oh, I would do that anyway. Listen,
I so again, fucking funny.
I might hate the program, but I love to feed the boys. No, but yeah, if they make the Final Four, I'll go and I'll dress up in all Rutgers gear. And maybe I'll just bring like just a plate full of chicken parm, get a couple pinky rings, maybe a gold chain, slick back the hair, and just head to, yeah, I don't know. We'll make it happen. I'm just,
they got to make it first.
Yeah. Well, that's, I'm not concerned about that at all. All right. So so that's the weekend.
Do you even want to do that talking? I feel like there really wasn't like games.
Nah, I think that this was like a pretty big,
that was a big
weekend of lacrosse, and there's I think that we got the big ones out of the way. Now there were some guys playing in some mid majors who I think deserved a few shout outs this weekend. So we'll just go. We'll bring this segment into our Tuesday episode. Let's do major performance.
Do you want me to go first? Yeah, you go first.
Yeah, go right ahead.
This is a little bit out of my comfort zone with this particular player. Rival high school, from Manhasset. Kevin Mack Stony Brook put up 9 points against UMBC, had 6 and 3. Just a stellar performance, all career highs. Just one of those guys that Stony Brook also wore these jerseys, like the mesh jerseys, and I'm just going to say that if Stony Brook wore those every single game and Kevin Mack scores 9 points every game, they'd probably be a top 10 team in the country.
Stony Brook has a really good look. The helmets are fire, and the mesh jerseys, the Port Old mesh always plays. I want to give a shout out now. this almost sounds like cheating, or it seems like cheating to me, because we have talked about this guy quite a few times. But either way, he's still playing in a mid major. St. Bonaventure's goalie Brett Dobson, 21 saves in their win against Quinnipiac. So this is a guy who we mentioned a couple weeks ago, where he said that he's gonna forego
Mm-hmm.
his fifth year, right? So he's still, so it's not like he's like leaving school early, but he could have gone back for a fifth year. But he says, no, you know what? I'm all set on that. I want to head over, get my professional career going. And so he had 21 saves in the Bonnies' 10-8 win over Quinnipiac, and that's good to keep St. Bonaventure's atop of the MAC.
You don't
So
want to see St. Bonaventure's in the tournament. I will say that.
no,
I don't think you do. They're gonna. I mean, this is what's gonna happen. They'll be winning at the end of the third quarter, and then Notre
yes,
Dame will win.
yes,
But like
yes, yes.
you don't want to play them.
Right. It's a game that's gonna, like your coach is gonna be saying some shit at halftime, where you might not be able to mend that relationship after the game,
Yep.
because of
You
how
might
hard
transfer,
you might transfer
but you
after
will
getting
score
reamed
four
out,
goals in the second half.
because you're losing to the Bonnies in at halftime, because Brett Dobson will have 41 saves at halftime in that game.
81% save percentage.
But yeah, so shout out to Brett Dobson of St. Bonaventure's and Kevin Mack of Stony Brook, your major performance winners of the week. Dukes, you had mentioned something to me earlier in the day about just a new segment to add to the mix. So what do we got on deck here?
I couldn't think of a name for it, but I kind of like it. Just needed it, couldn't have it. Like a team that needed to have the win and a team that just couldn't afford to have the win. It's like that time of the season. So I'll just like start it off with just needed it. Needed it. I think Joe Amplo needed that win. It almost seemed like it saved him another year. You got Xavier Arline under your belts. It's a huge win for Navy, huge win for the season. You never know what can happen into the conference tournament now. So I think that was a win that Joe Amplo and Navy really needed. And then I honestly, for my couldn't have it, this might shock some people, but I don't think Cornell could afford that loss, because you like to play your way into the tournament. You like to be heating up going into the tournament, and it just seems a little bit that they're playing down. And I mean, you had the 1-goal win against Dartmouth, where I was a little bit like, oh, where's Cornell at? They bounced back with the win against Harvard, who you guys know what I think about Harvard. But then you had the 1-goal win. We had to come back against Cuse. Bad loss to Army, then a bad loss to Brown. I just don't like the direction that Cornell's heading right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're right there with the rest, like other teams in the Ivy, where it's like, okay, like is this conference just loaded and everybody's sick, or is this conference just deep but everyone's like pretty okay? And like right now, what Cornell's kind of doing, like Brown is making you think, okay, like the whole conference is just sick, and then Cornell's making you think, maybe everyone's just like a really solid team, but no one's that great. Cornell's a really solid team right now that's not playing great.
Yeah. I just think that they need to find their groove again.
All right, cool. Well, yeah. So I think a team who really needed a win last week and got it just by the skin of their teeth, the Loyola Greyhounds. So, the beginning of the season was putrid for Loyola. So they started off the year with 4 straight losses. Ever since then, they were kind of turning things around there. I think that they either got to 500 or like just over 500 at one point. But then they've recently had a couple losses in a row. They got beat down pretty bad by BU. Then they got doubled up by Georgetown. This was a game against Colgate that they needed to win if they wanted any shot of making it to the Patriot League tournament. And they got that 11-10 win over Colgate. So, I mean, right now that has them 4th in the Patriot League. And on the flip side of that coin, I think a team that really couldn't afford a loss, but ended up getting one anyway, and this was in overtime, right there in the Patriot League. Another team that just had Colgate on their schedule, had a 9-8 loss to Colgate last week, and 2 weeks ago at this point. And then this past weekend, Lehigh goes down to BU after a pretty sick goal out of Timmy Lay for BU. Little backhand bouncer that beat James Spence. So I mean, so BU taking that 9-8 win over Lehigh. That has Lehigh right there at the same in Patriot League play with Loyola. They're both at 5-2 in conference. And as fate would have it, they both close out the regular season against each other this coming weekend. So we've got Lehigh and Loyola, which feels like the first real tournament game of the year. I think that's a loser go home situation.
Yeah, that'll be amazing.
Also, just real quickly, I think that High Point had a lot, like a big time loss that they probably could not afford. Like I think
so. 16-5, I think it was. You think that was a bad loss?
I just didn't know if High Point was in a position where like any loss would hurt. Like I don't really see High Point as a team at this point that really had much of a chance of moving on. But you lose in that fashion to Richmond. That's
pretty pathetic.
Yeah, that's a dagger in the season. But
all right. Do you want to close it off with top tens, or anything after that?
No. Yeah. Let's we'll give our top tens and then we'll wrap things up.
I'll say this: you won last week. You had my brain spinning this week for the top 10. So here's my top 10. At number 1, I have Maryland at Homewood. I think that Maryland at Homewood is just easily the best team in the country. Number 2, I have Maryland everywhere else they play.
Okay, so I want to know real quick though. So all right, so Maryland at Homewood versus Maryland at home. What's
Maryland at Homewood would win by 5.
Yeah, okay,
I love that. They just play with the extra edge. They play like a little bit pissed off.
Because they hate the band.
Yeah, they hate the fucking band. They actually shoot the Maryland team that plays the Maryland team at Homewood would purposely miss shots to hit the band in the face to just stop them from playing the band every time. Yeah.
I think we need to make that game happen just to see it happen. All right. So you've got Maryland at Homewood 1, Maryland everywhere else at 2. Keep us rolling at 3.
3, Virginia. 4, Georgetown. 5, I got Duke. 6, I got Yale. 7, I got Brown. 8, I got Navy with Xavier Arline. 9, I got Princeton. 10, I got Harvard at home.
All right. Harvard at home. I think that they're.
I will say
that's a sneaky good team. You've mentioned it before.
I will say this too. I fucked up and I meant to put Harvard at home at I think I emailed it to you. Fuck. I don't want Harvard at home. Yeah, Harvard at home I had at 5, 6 Duke, 7 Yale, 8 Brown, 9 Navy with Xavier Arline starting, 10 Princeton. That was
all right.
I knew I fucked up.
Little mid poll shake up there. Never hurt anybody.
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a single discrepancy with that list. I think that's a pretty solid top 10. Yeah, I'm just taking Maryland as a whole at 1, like anyone else with at least a quarter of a functioning brain would do at this point. I still really love Georgetown at 2. I think that Georgetown is a team that is going to. I think that they're bound for Hartford. Virginia, I mentioned last week that Virginia healthy is still just as good as any other team in the nation. They seem to be pretty healthy. Would still not totally sure about Schellenberger, but either way, when you have a healthy Matt Moore, that makes up for everything. So I've got Virginia at 3. Right here, I've got a singular player. I've got the People's goalie at 4. He's such a unit that he deserves to be his own spot. So I've got the People's goalie, Connor Thoreau of Brown at 4. Now from here, this is one where what I want you to do, I want you to take any 4 Ivy League teams besides Dartmouth, take any 4 teams, or actually just put the whole 6 of them. And then I want you to write them on a piece of paper. And everyone who's listening to this at home right now, I want you to actually do this, right? So pause. I want you to write down 6 Ivy League teams on a piece of paper. I want you to put it into a hat, and I want you to take out 4 of them. And then that will go ahead, and that'll be 5, 6, 7, and 8 in my rankings. So whichever ones you pull out of the hat, they get that ranking. At 9, I've got Notre Dame. And then at 10, I have anybody who plays against Hopkins that week.
Yeah, I love that one. I like also how we didn't do this intentionally. Like I just say hey, let's do top 10s this week. I kind of just like the shakedown of it. You didn't put a Big Ten team, did you?
I did not. No, Maryland.
Well, yeah. Besides, I mean, come on. But
No,
like,
but no,
yeah,
but
yeah.
nobody else.
But I
No.
think this is the second time that we didn't. We both left off, and I think
Again, this is why our eyes are so much better than the RPI, right? Like the eye test, no one else in the Big Ten passes it. Like you can't be Ohio State and like just barely get by Michigan if you want to be a top 10 team. Rutgers just barely getting by Penn State and be a top 10 team. No thanks. See you later.
I'm trying to see the poll. All right, so should I read out the Inside Lacrosse Media poll just like to see to let the people know how different it is? Inside Lacrosse Media poll has Maryland, Georgetown, Rutgers, Virginia, Brown, Notre Dame, Princeton, Jacksonville, Yale, Ohio State.
Fuck!
I know.
I feel bad. I wanted to.
Hey, Brown had a good week. Jacksonville didn't have a resume building week. They're number 11. They're just on the outside looking in. Do you want to add them in?
Actually, I'm gonna put the People's goalie and Jacksonville on the same. They're a tie. They're a tie for 4.
Okay.
And
add
then
add it to the list.
Add it to the list. That's all my fault, Jacksonville. To make it up for you, everyone do us a favor, head on over to store.barstoolsports.com and pick up your Lax school shirt because Jacksonville is a lacrosse school and the Finns are buzzing. But yeah, I feel like we had pretty much besides you adding Navy,
Xavier Arline.
Yeah, with Xavier Arline, I feel like we still had pretty much the same exact. So the eyes don't lie.
This is why we get paid the big bucks, $0.
Yeah, but if you want to pay us some money, feel free to hit us up and you can sponsor the podcast. Maybe sponsor a few segments. Who knows?
Wow. You could sponsor my hat. You could sponsor a sweatshirt. I'm really you can. I'm pretty much up for
Dudes
sale.
is for sale. Dudes is for sale.
You can do whatever you want to me.
Yeah. Whatever you want. And what you really want to do right now is make sure that you are following us on Twitter and Instagram. We are at the Crease Dive on both. And what you really desperately need to do right now is head on over to YouTube and subscribe to the Crease Dive YouTube channel. Subscribe right now, subscribe early, subscribe often. And in the meantime, we'll be keeping it low to high until Friday when we see you guys again for our weekend preview. Until the day we die, we out.